I'm going to show you how to set up a GraphQL server using, now I also have a video doing this with PostgreSQL that I'll put in the link in the description below if you want to check that out. Now to do this, I'm going to use a couple different things. I'm going to start from scratch and walk you through how I set up and everything. So I like to use Babel so I can use the nice ES6 with async and await. I'm also going to show you how to set up, I like the Airbnb style guide. We're going to set up nodemon. Our server will automatically restart. And we're going to be using Apollo for the actual, we're going to be using Express for the server, and it's going to be. And then lastly, we're going to be using mongoose to connect MongoDB stuff. So let's get started. Start with configuring Babel. I'm just going to go ahead and open up a terminal window here. I have an empty folder starting totally from init, and go ahead and start this guy off. We're going to say yes, and then we can start installing stuff. So I'm going to say yarn add, set up a some dev stuff. We're going to say babel CLI, babel preset latest, and reset stage 2. Now latest in stage 2 will give us the spread operation and give us the imports. Nice. Alright, and we're going to create a new folder. I have this up in Visual Studio Code here. I'm just going to say babel rc, and like it shows right here, I'm going to add these presets in here, and we're going to use latest and also. Okay, now let's set up ESLint. So I'm going to come over here. If you don't have ESLint installed on your computer, you can do npm g ESLint, but I already have it, so I can just say ESLint init, and I'm going to set this up with a popular style guide. I'm not using React. Now this doesn't work all the way. It just configures the .eslint file for you. You also have to come to their npm package here, and a command you can run to basically fix. It does not appear dependencies properly, so you have to run this. So I'm on a Mac, so I'm in Windows. You need to use this install pure deps. Right here, paste this in, and it'll install the dependencies, ESLint stuff. And you can see it created a .eslint file. This is good. Alright, so when that's done installing, we're just going to come into this package.json, and we're going to set up. So we're going to install nodemon, and then we're going to create a new start script to automatically call it. So this is another dev dependency, nodemon, and we'll let that finish loading and pop up in our dev dependencies here when it's done. So now we can go ahead in our scripts, and I'm going to say start, we're going to say exec, and we're going to call babel-node.js. So we need to create an index.js file next. So, and that's where we're going to put all our server code. So this is we have Babel set up okay. Babel node we're getting from Babel CLI, and then our presets, it knows what to transpile, and then where you have daemon. So all our tooling's good. We can now start developing the server. So I'm going to be using the Apollo server. Here's the little code snippet here, and this is literally all we need to set up our class super quick. You'll notice we need to install Express, body part Express. So I'm going to paste those in here and come over here and do yarn. This is not a dev dependency. Express body, and I think it was Apollo server Express. Alright, and then change the port if you want to. I'm going to change that, and we're going to run this on /GraphQL. That's good. Next thing we need to do is set up our schema. Now, follow this simple Mongo got a little model that creates here with the kitty cat. So schema. So I'm going to come over here and say schema.js, and here's where I'm going to a string, and the string is just going to be this. So I'm going to make a type of cat, and the cat is going to have two properties: an ID, which is a string. MongoDB automatically adds this for you, and then a name, so string. And yeah, that's going to be a string as well. So I'm going to make one query and one mutation. The query we're going to do is, and all it's going to do is return a array of all cats. Mutation, this is going to be create cat. Give it a name, which is a string, and we're going to return a cat. Alright, and now this is our schema. You can go ahead and add as much as you next thing we have to do is create resolvers for the schema, and then so in our schema right here we need to create the type defs. That's that string that we just created. So import this. Let's go ahead and paste it. Alright, so, and now we can defs from /schema, and GraphQL tools, so let's go ahead and install that, yarn add tools, and then our resolvers from /resolvers. So that's neat. Alright, schema you're getting from here, type defs here, and then our schema we need to pass right here. Alright, and we don't need to export this. So we need to create a resolvers.js. Our resolvers are going to call mongoose or the database. So we should probably set up the database first. Over here, we need to install the mongoose package, and then we're just going to copy their little example here. So paste this in underneath the schema here. So first, come over here, yarn add, and then we also need to install GraphQL. We're not direct, but other packages are, so we need to go ahead and install that. It doesn't install button. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and use from syntax, and we're going to move this up to the top. And then I'm going to connect to just a test database, make cat const, and then we don't have to worry about here. That's going to go in our resolver. Now we want to pass our model, which is cat, to our resolvers, so we can actually call cat.new and create new cats. So there is a property called pass to our resolvers, and we can put anything we want in this object in over here. So I'm going to pass cat in. So come over to our resolvers now. We can now say export default. So we're going to have a query mutations, and now our query was so this takes, I'm going to make this an async function. I have a parent, args, and this is the context. So you can go ahead and destructure and get the cat out of there. And then here, I'm just going to create a object, or not an object, function. We're going to go ahead and call the stuff that we want to do. So for all cats, we defined all the cats, and then return them. So cats is going to be equal to cat.find. Wait that because this is an async function. Cats is what's going to return is an object that looks something like this, underscore ID, and then the ID, and then the name is going to be whatever. But the ID here is actually an object and not a string. But instead we want it to be a string, so we just want to map through the cats and change that. So we're going to actually, instead of just returning cats here, we're going to do cats.map x, and we're going to say x a function called toString on that object, and it just comes to a string, and then we're going to return x. Alright, so go ahead and save that. ESLint, that's just because we're using an underscore here, not because our syntax is bad. But alright, now we can get all cats. That should be an A. Here we can create cats. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this because it's going to be to creating cats. So create cats. Async function, parent args are going to be the same. Arg is going to be the name, right? So we could expand that if we wanted to, putting it as args. And we're just going to say we're going to await new cat, and we're going to call save on that. And so this is going to be our kitty. And same thing as before, our cat is going to look like this. So our ID we need to change. So we get underscore ID is equal to kitty underscore ID string. All right. And then we can get rid of this return, and here we can return one return. Alright, same thing as before, it doesn't like the underscore ID, but other than that, our resolvers, these look pretty good. So you notice all we're doing here is to the MongoDB and then returning the response of it, and of course just changing the IDs. So if we start this server up and see if it runs, we haven't it with it yet, right? Because we just have a GraphQL endpoint. We're going to use something called graphical, but we'll set that up. The server's good. So I'm just going to run npm start. It's going to show and execute babel-node, and it looks like it started up okay. So up here, I'm going to also import a server called GraphQL or graphical. Express out just uses creates graphical for us. Use the endpoint we're going to use is graphical. This before, all it is I forget. Okay, yeah, endpoint URL, and we do /. Okay, so here we know what our endpoint to our GraphQL is, and that's the same thing to make sure these match. So now we can go to graphical endpoint and get out our GraphQL endpoint that we just created. So coming over here, I'm going to go to localhost 3000/graphical, and cool. So this allows us to play with our GraphQL with our resolvers and actually execute stuff. So I'm going to create a cat. So name is going to be I am the first cat. We're going to go ahead and return the ID and the name. Run that, and cool. So we created our first cat. I am the second one. We have 2 cats now, and if we want, we can query them with all cats, getting the ID and the name. Alright, so that's it. We set up our pretty fast, right? We have Express, and then we're using MongoDB stuff. Now, this is just the beginning, right? For basic model, there's a way more you can add on to this. Ending from here is just adding more models and pass it into the context here. You could then in your resolver, you just create, update, do whatever you want with the models that you are creating. So you can expand this and do a lot more stuff and add to your schema. Starting template. It has Babel set up, ESLint, and Express, so all that stuff is good to go. So thank you guys for questions. Please feel free to leave a comment below, and